Good Monday evening to you. Thank you for joining us for Family Time Devotion. Once again with me is Paul Dockery, in case you weren't with us Wednesday, which, by the way, on Wednesday I said Thursday, but it was Wednesday. If you weren't with us, Paul and his family missionaries with Highway Byway Mission Agency and serving God in the tri-state area, working with children, doing a fantastic job. Thanks for being back with us again.
Thank you. I enjoyed it last time.
Me too. So last time we started in chapter 6 of the book of Acts. We started our way from verse 8 down. We made it through verse 10. So we'll pick up with verse 11 and hopefully go through at least verse 15 before we complete our time. And if we have time, we'll move on into chapter 7. If not, then we'll save it for Wednesday. I want to catch you up real quickly, just in case you weren't with us. On the last time we saw that Stephen, who was one of the deacons of the church, had gone out into the community, was doing signs and wonders. He was teaching and preaching to the people, trying to draw them to Jesus Christ, when a group of those who were not part of the church, who were not believers, who very much held to their own type of religion, their own philosophies, their own man-made rules, came and confronted Stephen, thinking that they were just going to run over him with their own wisdom, their own logic. But what they found was that the Spirit of God was speaking through Stephen, and they could not withstand him. And so the problem for them, since they couldn't do it, their pride had been affected, and now they go after Stephen. I want to pick up the story right there. In verse 11, after we find that they could not withstand the Spirit of God that was speaking through Stephen, verse 11, it says, "They then secretly instigated men who said, 'We have heard him speak blasphemous words against Moses and God.' And they stirred up the people and the elders and the scribes, and they came upon him and seized him and brought him before the council. And they set up false witnesses who said, 'This man never ceases to speak words against the holy place and the law. For we have heard him say that this Jesus of Nazareth will destroy this place and will change the customs that Moses delivered to us.'" So when they couldn't argue with him because their reasoning didn't stack up to the truth that he was presenting, then all of a sudden they want to prosecute him as a criminal. They want to drag him before, and since they don't have the means with which to confront anything he's saying in the court, they have to hire these men that are going to be false witnesses against him.
Yeah, that's a logical fallacy. If you've ever done any debating, if you can't beat the argument and you start attacking the person, they call that ad hominem. And you're doing well when you get them to start talking about you rather than what you're saying. But again, like we were saying on Wednesday, when you're full of the Holy Spirit, when He is in you, it's Him that's actually doing the speaking. It's Him that's making the arguments. And so you're much better off in that case, as Stephen was here, because they couldn't refute anything he was saying.
And so now we come to verse 15, and once again, there are several verses that really jump out and I love in this passage. This is one of them. "And these people," verse 15, "and gazing at him, all who sat in the council saw that his face was like the face of an angel." Now to me, this is the part that makes absolutely no sense to me. Not that his face was like the face of an angel. Okay. They look at Stephen after they've been arguing against him, after they've been trying to slam him. They bring these false witnesses against him to lie about him. And they look at him and see that his face is glowing like an angel.
Yeah.
Now, it looks to me like if I've heard the truth that he's speaking, and I can't debate it because it's accurate, and I then accuse him of things thinking he's going to fall apart, and yet what we see is God in him.
Yep.
I think that at least I would hope that I would have enough sense to say, I better back off of this guy.
Right.
There's something going on here that I can't explain. His face is like an angel, and yet what they wanted was to execute him.
Oh yeah.
They wanted to kill him.
Mm-hmm.
It don't matter what he looks like. It doesn't matter what they see in him. They want him dead. And why? And the right answer here is jealousy. The right answer is yes. I tell you that because I hate when somebody asks a question thinking I'm on their brain link.
Sometimes you're not.
Yeah, no, I'm thinking a different direction, and then I look like a dummy.
Yeah.
So why?
Because of jealousy.
Jealousy, there you go. We're on the same track. Because of jealousy. Jealousy is one of those things that is so evil. It's so evil. I say that as a person who has been in my lifetime a jealous person. Now, thank God I'm not at this particular occasion. I'm not foolish enough to think that I couldn't be again. But because I've had that experience, I see the damage that it does. I see how it destroys not only my own life, but it destroys my family. It destroys those that I love, I care about. It's so destructive.
And when it says his face was like an angel, I think the thing that would be, I mean, when you think about angels, you think about messengers from God, right? Those who come to bring the message that God has given to them. And you never see angels flustered. You don't see them running around. You don't see them stammering or scared or anything. I think Stephen's face was a face of perfect peace. And I think that's something that they would not have been used to either. Bringing accusations of blasphemy, which is punishable by death. In the Sanhedrin, you would have had people that were sweating, that were nervous, especially with, like you say, with false witnesses coming up saying, we saw this, we saw that. But yet with Stephen, you see peace. And that comes from the fact that he knew he was right. He knew that God was on his side. If God's on your side, there's never reason to be afraid. If he's not on your side, you should be nothing but afraid.
Yeah, that's really good insight, Paul. Not that I doubt it that it should be, but it really is excellent insight. I love that thought you've developed there. So this jealousy on the part of these people is so destructive. And I just had to think, okay, God, you brought me to this thought of jealousy. And I know it's beneficial for me to hear, but I can imagine that there are probably others who are listening to this who have the same issue, dealing with this matter of jealousy. I know that for me, jealousy stemmed out of insecurity. I didn't think I was worthy, and therefore there has to be something going on. There's no way you could really love me that much. Right. That in itself speaks to something that needs to be addressed, that we have to find our security. We have to find our identity not in our looks, not in our personality, not in those with whom we hang out, but we have to find that in Jesus Christ. Yeah. Because if we find it in Jesus Christ, it's a stable ground. It's not changing, it's not shifting, it's stable. If we find it in anything else, then with the winds or with the attitudes or the moods, everything changes, everything shifts. And there's no way to find that peace that you were talking about. That is an amazing thought, that Stephen sat there full of the peace of God. And even as the Bible says, it was a peace that passed human understanding. They couldn't get it.
Right.
It made no sense to them. If there is jealousy in your life, let me just speak to this for just a second. If there's jealousy in your life, you desperately need to speak with a Christian counselor. There's some things that's going on deeper than that jealousy that you need to deal with, and a Christian counselor can help you uncover that, can help you get that out. You would be surprised how much happier, how much more joy you will find in your life if you deal with that and remove it from your life. That is not something that the Spirit of God produces. You will not find that in the fruit of the Spirit. Therefore, it comes from a different place, and it is very destructive. Deal with it. Deal with it today and see how it benefits you and your family. Well, why don't you go ahead and take us into chapter 7 a little bit, maybe just get us started, a little teaser for what's coming on Wednesday.
So chapter 7 is just a continuation of what we ended up with in chapter 6. And if you will remember, Caiaphas, the head of the Sanhedrin, has just asked Stephen a question. He's just said, okay, so we know they brought these false witnesses up. We know that you have been blaspheming because of the things you have said about the temple. You've been blaspheming against God. You've been blaspheming against Moses because of the things that you've said about the law. So we need to know from you, is that true? So what we have here is sort of what they used to try to do to Jesus. It was sort of a no-win question here. If he answers yes, meaning yes, that's what I said, they're going to say, oh, so you're admitting to blasphemy. But if he says no, I'm not blaspheming, they're not going to even listen to him anymore because they heard what he had said. They had witnesses that said, no, these are the words that he said. So he's sort of in a no-win situation. And in chapter 7, we get into the fact that he handled that, again, much like Jesus did, by twisting it a little bit on them. Answering the question, but not in the way that they thought he would.
That's really good. Good insight. So I guess we better bring it to a conclusion for this evening. We'll pick it up there with that introduction on Wednesday at 7 o'clock. Make sure you're with us. Invite someone to join you for that as well. And keep in mind that this weekend we'll have 2 services at 9 and 10:30. We do that for everybody's benefit. It allows us to space a lot more, allows us to spread out, and therefore no one's clumped together. A lot of people, they don't seem to care about that, and that's perfectly fine. There are others who care a whole lot about it. Maybe there's a health issue. Maybe they just care about it. Either way, that's perfectly fine. But because we've gone to 2 services, it gives us that opportunity to distance and to be able to have more people in the services. So pick one of the 2, 9 or 10:30. They'll be identical services, so you won't miss out on anything if you go to one or the other. Just make sure you're here, okay? We'll see you Wednesday evening and then this weekend on Sunday for our services. Thanks so much for joining us. Have a wonderful week, a wonderful evening, and we love you. We're praying for you. We're here for you if you need us.